So, what's up, YouTube? Today we are talking about the Dallas Mavericks trading Kristaps Porzingis to the Washington Wizards and what that means for both the Wizards and the Mavericks moving forward. Before we get into it, feel free to like the video, subscribe to the channel, all that fun stuff. And let's just get on into it. Okay, so this is the trade, as you see on screen. Kristaps Porzingis is going to Washington along with a future second-round pick, and the Dallas Mavericks are receiving Spencer Dinwiddie and Davis Bertans. Initial reaction. Let's talk about it. Okay, so Dallas is sending away Porzingis, and this is a sensitive subject for Mavericks fans because Porzingis was never going to be, and he hadn't been, what they traded away when he was with the Knicks. Obviously, they haven't received the return that they wanted to from that trade. I think he is kind of the scapegoat, right? He's kind of like the tail end of every joke in Dallas, and I think everyone's just like, oh, well, if Porzingis was better, we'd be way better. And like that's the end all be all. And I understand that he was hurt, that he is injury prone, that he has a lot of issues there. The one thing I just really question about this particular deal is the fact that they brought in Spencer Dinwiddie and Davis Bertans. When I saw the trade came in as Porzingis going to Washington and the Dallas Mavericks are receiving Spencer Dinwiddie in return. The weird thing about this is that I initially thought like, oh, maybe Dallas gets like maybe a young big guy, so maybe like Gafford, maybe Thomas Bryant, because the salaries would match there to be able to make the deal work, because obviously Dinwiddie's contract alone isn't enough to just straight up trade for Porzingis. And so I was like, oh, they're probably going to get some young prospect too, maybe, right? That's what you would hope. And Washington wants to get off of Dinwiddie. They've documented and said before that they don't, I guess the locker room fit for Dinwiddie wasn't great. And then Davis Bertans is the guy that's named. And that blew my mind because and we'll get into the cap sheet here. In fact, let's get into it right now. I don't understand exactly what the move is here. So you already have Tim Hardaway Jr., who is making a little bit over market value in my personal opinion for the next few years. Obviously, he's hurt. Hopefully, he comes back soon and is good for them for the playoffs. But then you add these two deals right here, which is roughly $33 million, which is what Porzingis was making, right? And all good and done, like sweet. But the fact that they still have these contracts next year, and they're not two attractive players either. Dinwiddie's coming off an ACL injury from last season at the beginning of the year, has not played great this year, looked good at the beginning, struggled recently. Davis Bertans, I think, has fallen out of the rotation, if I am not wrong there. And so I just don't know what the upside is with these players. I've heard/read that there's an opinion out there about how the Mavericks can be able to move these players in the future. Okay, but I don't think you are, honestly. Like, they're kind of locking themselves into this roster. And this roster right now is the 4th seed in the West. Will they be able to get past that or be a higher seed with Dinwiddie and Bertans minus Porzingis? This is not, as much as people want to bag on Porzingis, this is not so much of a addition by subtraction like Russell Westbrook. Like, we have to get Porzingis off our team because he's just so negative. He's a negative impact on the floor. He was doing all right. Was he great? And I think this is where people kind of get things mixed up. Is that Porzingis wasn't bad for Dallas. Health-wise, yeah, he just was missing a lot of games. Totally, we'll give that to you. On the court-wise, he was okay. But obviously they traded him to be the next star next to Luka. And he just hasn't been that. So now fans and management, whoever, are like, oh, well, he's so awful, even though in reality he's actually playing pretty okay. Not to his standards, or to the standards that everybody put on him. This is not a Porzingis apologist video, But I will say that, I mean, Dallas expecting for him to blow up and become something great was a gamble that they took, and they didn't hit on it, and now they're paying for it. So they ended up having to move him, and I just don't understand the return. So Dallas can kind of get away with this, mostly because, let's look at it one more time, and then we'll talk about Washington. Dallas can get away with this because of this figure right here. Whoops. Because of this figure right here. Next season, though, this team's going to be over the cap. And then they got to worry about Luka's money for the next 5 seasons, which is great. It's a great issue to have, right? But you have these 4 players here that aren't world beaters. Dwight Powell, Davis Bertans, Spencer Dinwiddie, Tim Hardaway. And they're making like a combined, how many is that? That's about roughly 40, 55, 65, anywhere from 65 to 70 million just from 4 players, and they're not even your best players, and you still need to re-sign Jalen Brunson. Because he's been on this absolute blessing of a contract for the team. It's not a lot. It's very rare, I should say, for a team to be able to have one of their better players, if not their second best player, be on this low of a contract. They've been blessed with it, and I don't really understand, because I think he could get 15, maybe even more. I think he could get like 20 plus on the market, Brunson. And so now you're 40 million under the cap, and then we haven't even talked about Dorian Finney-Smith yet. And the fact that he's not making 4 million next year, he's probably going to be making in the teens next year. So now you're 50 million over the cap. So, and for a team that, I don't know. I just don't know. They look good sometimes. They don't look good other nights. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're not. Just super interesting. Especially given the fact that they want to keep their two players. One quick note on the Mavericks, and then we'll move to the Wizards. Yes, there is a way that they could potentially sign and trade away both Finney-Smith and Jalen Brunson. If I am a GM of any team, Brunson, Finney-Smith, and the larger contracts of Hardaway / Dinwiddie / Bertans / Norman Powell, that's not exciting me to get that. That's not really like, ooh man, that I think Brunson is a really good player, a highly impactful player, but I just don't think that Dallas is going to just say, okay, see you later in free agency. No, they're going to keep him. But what team really values what Brunson provides? We'll see. I don't think it's enough to land another star there next to Luka. So, talent-wise, let's be honest here. Talent-wise, Porzingis is the second best player on the Mavericks. Talent, just sheerly going off of talent. They now have a huge gap from Luka's talent all the way down to the next best player, who's Brunson, who is great, awesome. I think he has a little bit smaller of a ceiling, lower of a ceiling than other players do. So we'll see. Porzingis has been playing solid, and I just, we'll see. Anyway, there could be cap issues moving forward. We'll see. All right, let's quickly now go to the Washington Wizards and look at their cap sheet here. So what do they get? Well, Washington gets Kristaps Porzingis. And you almost wonder if the team is going to say, okay, maybe we can package Porzingis up with somebody in the future as well. Porzingis only has 1 year on his deal after this season. So next season he will have he'll obviously be on the team. But then he has a player option the next year, which is a little worrisome in a way. I think there's a way that Washington can be able to move off of this. Can they attach maybe a Kyle Kuzma? Can they attach maybe a Deni Avdija or a Rui Hachimura? They're rebuilding for sure. So we'll see. We will see. This will be interesting for Washington. I think they're going to allow Beal to start kind of making decisions similar to how Portland's doing it. Portland's allowing Damian to say, hey, hey, I want this particular player. Can we get him? Yeah, probably through trade or maybe through free agency. We'll see. So I think Washington's going to kind of operate like that and just continue to build around Beal. This is a step that they'll take to say, hey, we're going to try to win, but we want to get guys that you want in here. And getting rid of those contracts was kind of the first little domino to fall in order for things to happen. Now, is Porzingis packaged up maybe with a draft pick or two to a team that maybe wants Porzingis or values Porzingis a little bit more? Maybe New York. Just kidding. So what happens there? Can Washington be able to move Porzingis in the future? I think it'll be interesting. But I don't even know if he plays this year. He's had injury issues. They just shut down Beal. Are they really in it in the playoff race? I don't even know. So, what? Especially if you're shutting down Beal, that's a sign that you're saying we're not looking to make the play-in or anything like that. So, anyway, that is it for the video. If you liked it, feel free to subscribe to the channel. Like the video and all that stuff, comment, and we'll see you in the next one. We're talking about every single trade that happened on trade deadline day, so feel free to go check out the other videos, and we'll see you soon.